host.
Hey.
All right. Hi, folks. We are just about to get started. Thank you for joining us. And we are just going to run over some quick housekeeping on Zoom and how this webinar is going to work. So if you're not familiar with the Q&A feature, you want to find that in your control bar and click to launch the Q&A. And then you can ask a question through the Q&A feature, and we'll try to answer that live. And we're going to get to who we are in just a minute. Also, this is being recorded, so if you have to leave, you can come back to the Fire Up landing page and find this recording later. All right, I'm going to kick this over to Evelyn.
Thank you so much, Doris, and good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for your interest in this program. If you don't know much about the Maynard Institute, we next year will reach a 50-year mark as a training organization, offering just an array of programs over the years and decades. Initially, just for reporters, then editors, then managers, including managers on the business side, some of whom eventually became publishers. And these days, reflecting how our craft and our industry has evolved, programs for entrepreneurs. We're very proud to have been able to offer these opportunities for all to participate in training that can lead to success and advancement. And we have some slides ready to go through our program and are ready to answer your questions at the end. Let me turn it back over to Doris.
Thank you so much. All right. We're really glad that folks are with us today, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Fire Up Entrepreneurial Program. We're really hopeful that those of you who are attending this webinar have an opportunity to get your questions answered and also think about whether this is the right time for you to apply. Also, if I'm going too fast, please someone holler at me and I will try to speak more slowly. All right. So who's leading this? I think Jasmine is our program manager from Maynard. She's off camera, but she's going to help with some background technical things as I go through these photos. You're going to also see the live folks who are here with us. So Fire Up is led by Evelyn Sue, who you just met. She is the Maynard Institute's co-executive director. I'm also a part of the team. I am the deputy director for Fire Up, so I'm really excited to be here. We'll also have Fran Scarlett, who is the principal of Scarlett Inc. Media. She will be one of your coaches and mentors, particularly around revenue. And we're going to have Dixon Louie, who is the principal of Louie and Associates. And just pin everybody real quick so that you can see everybody and they can wave from their respective areas. Let's see. I'm going to try to pin Dixon. I think maybe everybody's trying to do things at once. Dixon may or may not have been pinned, but we will definitely see Dixon again in a little bit. And let me see if I can put myself back on spotlight here. Jasmine, can you remove the pins from the other folks and just leave me spotlighted? Thanks. I'm going to move on. So who is the Fire Up program for? It is for organizations, news organizations that have California audiences. We are also looking for organizations that are at least 1 year old. So make sure that you're an established organization. We also want to make sure that you have at least one product with a demonstrated audience. And we need at least one financial decision maker who can commit to our training program, which is a 7-month long program, but it's not continuous training. It's not like signing up for an MBA or something like that. I'm going to go over that in a little bit, but there are very specific times that you'll be meeting with us in person. And then there are other times you'll be meeting with us virtually. And that's over the course of 7 months. So if you have questions about that time commitment, we can get to those later. Evelyn, if you have anything else to add, feel free to chime in.
Nope.
Okay. So what are you going to learn during the Fire Up Entrepreneurial Program? You're going to hear more about the curriculum from Fran and Dixon shortly, but we're going to talk about how to approach revenue, audience, product, and community, because we really want to ensure sustainability of the California news ecosystem. And how many people are going to be in this cohort? This is the first time we're launching Fire Up. And so in this initial cohort, we're looking for 8 California serving news outlets. Of those outlets, up to 2 people per training will come from each organization, but we need one consistent financial decision maker to be a part of the entire program. That's previewing my bullet there. If you have questions, feel free to throw those into the Q&A. We'll try to get to that later. And how much is this grant? Because you are going to receive, besides the training, you're also going to receive some money that will help you with your organization. You're going to get $20,000 as an organization in staggered payments over those 7 months. So each of the 8 organizations chosen will receive $20,000 as a grant. And this is through the California Propel Local News Initiative. What's the cost? I bet you're probably wondering that. The travel, food, and lodging for our 3 in-person meetings is covered by the Propel Initiative. Those meetings are in July, October, and January. And how many meetings? So this gets to what does 7 months of involvement really mean? You're going to meet 3 times in July, October, and January. Each of those meetings is about 2.5 days. So that first day is your travel day. You'll arrive. There'll be a little bit of a welcome, get to meet the folks in your cohort. You'll be followed by 2 full days of trainings with other people in the cohort and various coaches and mentors. So we're expecting that you'll be able to leave at the end of the second full day of training. You'll also have virtual sessions in the months that we don't have those in-person meetings. Those virtual sessions will be 75 minutes each. Those are 2 times a month. And the months are August, September, November, and December. I'm not sure if there's something happening. I thought I saw a notification. So if there's something happening, someone can just holler at me. So what's the process by which we're selecting the cohort? We would love to have your applications by May 1st. And if you were navigating to this webinar, then you probably already have the page with the application linked, but we'll also share that at the end. After we get the applications, Evelyn and I and a panel will select our semifinalists. We're going to invite those semifinalists to interviews. During those interviews, we would like you to provide financials for your organization, as well as analytics about your product and references. And we will notify people if they're selected by early June so that you can work with us to plan your travel to that very first meeting in July. So again, your applications are due May 1st. I'm going to throw this link into the chat, which is different than the Q&A box. But if you have a mobile device, you can also click on that bit.ly link and or you can click on that QR code and it'll launch the page for you. But everything you need to find will be on that at that link or at that QR code for you to apply. I think that's pretty much it for the slideshow. We were going to toss it to Fran next so that she can talk a little bit about the importance of the revenue plans and how we're going to approach our workshop in July. So I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to spotlight Fran. Fran, you want to talk to us about the importance of revenue? Ooh, I don't know if Fran is there. Her square is black.
Um,
But looks like she just fell off
maybe
the
trying
link.
to sign on again.
Yeah, do we want to go to Dixon maybe in the
Sure, I'm ready.
meantime? Okay, yeah, Dixon's going to talk to us about his experience as an entrepreneur, and he's going to explain to you like some of the challenges and what to think about if you were considering applying for this program.
And Dixon has brought his experiences into helping us design the curriculum. So welcome, Dixon. Dixon is a member of the board of directors of the Institute. So it's always a pleasure to be able to have the opportunity to work with him.
Okay, well, thank you, Doris, and thank you, Evelyn. And I see Fran is back. Do you want to go to Fran, or should I just continue?
Why don't
Why
you just
don't you
continue?
continue?
Okay. First of all, since we're in California, there's the virtual background behind me. Everyone asks me if that's live. That's actually a virtual shot of UC Davis, where I'm also on the faculty of. But talk a little bit about the program. In addition to the module of revenue, which Fran will talk a little bit more about, we're going to have the modules focused on community, product, audience as well. And then the virtual sessions, we'll talk about finance, risk taking, and leadership. And basically, my experience in entrepreneurship is I actually did launch a company that got outside funding. It wasn't a news operation, but it was adjacent. It was a company called Time Capsule Press. And that was actually partnering with newspapers like the Los Angeles Times, the Washington Post, to write, to use content to create books. And we actually did that, me, my company and I, for about 12 years. So we actually launched three books. One was the Lakers 50th anniversary book, and that was a Wall Street Journal bestseller. And then we launched the Washington Post cookbook right here. And then for those of you living in California, I also have the Four Seasons of Yosemite book. If you can see that, that's a book with the LA Times. If anybody wants copies of the books, I will bring them to the session because I have about a couple hundred of each book in my garage still. So I will do that. But in addition to my experience of being an entrepreneur, I've also, in my role as an academic, I've also written several cases on entrepreneurship for Harvard Business School, UCLA, and Berkeley and UC Davis. And they ranged from, um, healthy ramen noodles to more recently, I wrote a case on Once Upon a Farm, which is Jennifer Garner's baby and early child organic food products as well. So we'll try to use some of those skills into focusing on you could be sustainable as well. We're going to use several methods of teaching. We're going to use cases, lectures, and exercises. And that's pretty much it for me for now.
Thank you, Dixon. And we just look forward to really tapping just the wide variety of experiences that you've had for this program. Uh, next is Fran Scarlett, who is a great friend of the Maynard Institute, who got her start as a journalist, as a reporter and editor, but has business training via Harvard and is a longtime teacher in prestigious programs such as the Media Transformation Challenge and Press Forward. And Fran is going to be the lead off faculty in July and with us the entire time. Also with us when we wrap up in January, because revenue is such an important through line in this program. It is the basis of sustainability. Fran, it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Evelyn. This is very exciting for me because as Evelyn and Dixon and anyone who works with me, I'm always about the money. And the reason I'm always about the money is without the money, you can't get to do the mission. Those things are not separate, right? And so what we focus on in the revenue portion of the program is really talking about what your value proposition is as an entity, what it is for, and Dixon will speak to some of this more, what it is for audience, but what it is also for potential advertisers, sponsors, funders. And we really spend some time focusing on that. We work on media kits. We want to improve collateral that better reflect customer value proposition. We focus on selling solutions versus selling things by CPM. We focus on the emphasis on the quality of the audience versus quantity of audience, how to overcome objections to proposals that you put out there. And one of the biggest things that we do is we test new ideas and gain insights. This is a program around experimentation. We cannot move and grow if we do things exactly the way we've always done them. And so this, in addition to all the things that we're going to talk about as it relates to revenue, is building the muscle of experimentation, building the muscle of trying new things. And when they don't work, stop doing them. And when they do work, elevate them and accelerate them. So that is what we're going to focus on as it relates to revenue. That's it for me.
Okay, great. Thank you, Fran. We have some questions in the Q&A. I'm gonna pin all of us so that whoever is most appropriate can answer. Evelyn, do you want to start off?
Uh, can everybody see the question?
People should be able to see the question, but why don't you read the question and then answer it?
Okay, sure. The economy is on fire. Inflation, gas prices going up, printing costs, distribution fees, etc. Everything is up. Stock markets tumbling, though that's day to day. Banks charging higher interest rates as diverse media outlets get high risk ratings. Would the Fire Up Leadership Program help my company meet these challenges? That is a lot for a very tiny nonprofit uh, with a mailing address in Oakland, California. However, what we want to do, as Fran talked about, and I hope Fran and Dixon will also address this, is help you develop some steps in the right direction and give you the resources, the thinking resources, the tools, as well as some financial support to conduct some experiments and look for ways that you can build sustainability. So the short answer is yes, in a very defined way. And the answer to the big question is, oh, how we wish. But Fran and Dixon, if you don't could please add your thoughts.
Fran, why don't you go ahead and then I'll answer.
Okay, all right. Yes, as Evelyn said, yes, and we have no magic bullets. What we have is knowledge and skills and motivation and ways to advance you. But if you choose not to do the work, nothing will be different. And so we need to be there and you need to be there. It's a both and. And in the past, teams that have really taken advantage of the learning and knowledge that we coaches bring to the table um, have seen it pay off. Some have not. They didn't see any payoff, right? There's a direct correlation there. So, yes, and you also have to dive in and be ready to try new things. Nothing is just like that. I called it the apocalypse question. Um, the apocalypse question, nothing can stay the same. So we can't help you advance if there's no change in your organization. This is not a listening program and taking notes program. It is a doing program. It's a doing program, and only in that doing will the change happen. At least the beginning. We're not expecting to have miracles, but we expect to get moving on a path.
That's really great,
Okay.
Fran. Thank you so much.
I think that's a great question. I mean, certainly the macroeconomic influences, something that all businesses are thinking about, whether you be a small nonprofit on the way to a Fortune 500. One of the sessions we have in I think in product, our audience is strategic frameworks, where you actually think about how to anticipate the future. No one can predict the future, but you could be mentally more prepared to handle the challenges ahead. Another element of this program, I think, is you're going to have we're going to have 8 media organizations here. So one of the things I would like to see everybody do, and I'm sure Fran and Evelyn and Doris would agree, is that you learn from each other. I mean, thinking about these challenges is not just unique to macro challenges, not just unique to one of you, but all eight of you, and you could share ideas how you handling the costs of inflation, higher inflation, or any other anticipated um, uh, macro influences out there, as well as we're going to also help you with the macro influence on your specific organizations as well. So one element is really for as a cohort is for you to learn from each other as well as from the faculty as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, Dixon. It's really important for you all to be able to learn from each other. That's why we're trying to build this cohort. Fran, let's jump to this question that came in while you were talking. You mentioned building the muscles and experimenting with idea testing. Could you elaborate?
And the rest of the question, so does this mean there's funding for
Right.
innovative ideas for journalism? I think that's what Evelyn mentioned. Maybe it was Doris who said there's a grant, that part of the purpose of the grant is for this experimentation. Um, so elaborate. Yeah, so what we're gonna, so for every topic I mentioned earlier when I first spoke, there will be homework, there will be things to do, there will be tests to make and take and report back. And so that's what I mean by building the muscle of testing. We give you the tools to do that. We have templates and so on and so forth. And we will ask you, how did this test go? In fact, in the sessions that I do, I start every session out with, tell me a win you got. And the win may be, what did I learn? We call those insight wins. But you can't learn something if you don't try something, right? Because not everything will work, and that's okay. Knowing that something doesn't work means you stop doing that thing and do something different, right? So that's what I mean by building that muscle of experimenting and being experiential. Because what we don't want is to stay static. We cannot stay stuck when everything else is moving. We have to be moving too, and it can be scary. So one of the principles we talk about is early wins, small wins, right? We don't ask you to take on that macroeconomic situation, aka apocalypse. That's a joke, y'all. We ask you to take on a little piece of your world that you can change and shift and move. And as you do that and you gain confidence, you'll do more and more. And anybody who's worked with me knows I will push you to do more. Even when you're like, I don't want to, Fran, I will push you to do more because only in the doing and changing can we be successful in being sustainable. Hopefully that answers the question.
And Fran, will you also be there to provide some guidance if people are wondering, is this too small a bite or is this too big reach? Will you be able to help them with that?
Yes, yes, yes. One of the things that is really important is right sizing the experiment, right? It's not like a Hail Mary sort of situation. Ooh, I hate when I do sports metaphors because I don't even do sports. But you know, but we need to right size the experiment. And again, as the muscle builds, just like in real life, then you take on more and heavier experiments.
Okay,
And Doris, if I could add, the funding um, is exactly for these small experiments, which is why we want somebody who has financial authority to be part of the program. We don't want to be in a situation where the participants come, they learn the tools, they have an experiment in mind, and then they go back and are told by higher ups that that's not what they want to use the money for. Or so part of having somebody with financial authority in attendance is the ability to make the financial commitment to use these funds for these experiments. We're not going to choose the experiment for you, but this is your this is gives you a little bit of runway to learn that might not be in your regular budget.
great. Evelyn, do you want to address this next question that we got in advance? Is this program for newer organizations or for organizations of a certain size?
Um, new, we want organizations that have an established product and can show some proof of audience. Um, we are unable right now to work with folks who may have an idea and but have yet to prototype it and to put it out there and see if it gains any traction at all, which is why we're looking for organizations that have like a 1 year track record at least. The size is not a limit. If a larger organization may have a project that that they would like to experiment with as a way of getting sustainability for this project, and we are glad to consider applications from those organizations. So size should not be a barrier, and you know, being established, if only for this short time, is is it's I we think is a good and sort of practical benchmark. And I hope that and please follow up if you want us to expand on that more.
Evelyn, on the certain size of the organization, some people who consider themselves to be a one-person organization have approached me to ask if they should apply. What's your answer to that?
Um, yes, please apply. I think that we can be in conversation about your bandwidth for experimentation, and you may be at an inflection point where you certainly need to grow. And if we can are in a position to help you figure out the tools and the right way to learn about how to grow, it could be a good fit for the program. But you also need to think if you're a one person shop, can you devote the time? Can you devote the time and bandwidth when we're not in the in-person sessions to working on what you committed to? And so we don't want you to be overwhelmed. That would not feel good for you or for us. But we can certainly talk about it. This may be a good time. We are going to run this program again in next year. And so maybe next year is a better time to apply, but we will talk it through. So don't let that discourage you from applying.
It looks like somebody has their hand raised, but we won't be able to unmute you. So if you could use the Q&A function to ask your follow-up, that would be great. Or you can, I don't know if you can get into the chat, but please ask your question through the Q&A. That would be great. In the meantime, let's jump ahead to this question about type of product. Could we be more specific about the type of product the organization should have if they're applying?
Dixon, do you want to address that first? We can all come in after you.
Sure. I mean, so the question, Doris, if I understand it correctly, is what type of product do they have right now?
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? Yeah,
Yeah, I
what we're
think
looking
so.
for is not, yeah, is just to build on what Evelyn said, we're not looking for somebody that's still in the prototype stage, which is the sort of really pre-product. And what we're looking for someone that has an established audience or start of an established audience and a product out there. So maybe like an early news site that's on hyper local news site that's online is what we're looking for. So that's our thinking right now. Evelyn, you want to build on that?
Uh, no, I think you've covered it, Dixon. Thanks. If there are follow-up questions, please put that in the Q&A.
Fran, would you maybe build on that by talking about the
Yeah,
need for analytics on those products?
yeah. So so the benefit of having some sort of a digital presence or digital product, and it could be a newsletter. A newsletter in and of itself is a digital product, right? Is that we can say where are you now? What kind of benchmarks do you have in terms of audience, open rate, click-through rate, so on and so forth, those sorts of uh, metrics, and see how we can grow those, right? Grow those metrics. We also have had, quite frankly, folks who are still in the print world who want to make the leap to digital. And I believe it's harder to get metrics on that, especially if it's not subscriber based and it's just something that is newsstand or newsstand. Does that even exist anymore? Sort of pickup, right? Um, we've had people in the past in other programs be at that stage, but want to make a leap, and we've helped them do that. There are no metrics. It's harder to kind of benchmark things, but again, I think Evelyn would be willing to have a conversation. Evelyn and Doris would be willing to have a conversation with you. Um, to that question about newsprint prices going up, that might be the incentive to move from print to digital, right? I've had people fight me on going digital and then tell me you saved me because newsprint prices went up 20% the next year, and we would not have survived if we had stayed in print. So I think the product idea is have a product that has an audience, and we can work with you on where you need to take that product next. If I'm saying that correctly, Evelyn, unless there's something new that we're different doing, but the key is product and audience. Does the product have an audience? That's the most important piece of the game.
We do have a question related to that. Does the product have to be new? For example, they have a daily newsletter, but would like to explore a topical monthly newsletter.
It sounds like this is something we would be very glad to consider, that you are looking to grow, um, and we uh, we may be in a position to help you. So,
Right. So if that is the idea that you'd like to work on, then be sure to flesh that out in the application. And if you have additional questions beyond that, Evelyn and my contact information is also in the application, so you can reach out to us as well. Okay, we have one more advanced question, or one more question has come in. If folks have other questions, feel free to throw them in the Q&A. We'll try to get to them. And looks like another question has come in. And then also, I'll follow up with the attendees and for this. And so if you have a question that didn't get answered, we'll try to get that offline. Somebody had asked if the in-person meetings are during the week or on weekends. Do you want me to try to answer this, Evelyn?
yes, go ahead, Doris.
Okay. So this is a little bit in flux. We are thinking that most people would like to have some part of their weekend. And so our very first meeting is likely to start on a Wednesday afternoon and end Friday evening. Subsequent meetings might start on Thursday afternoon and end Saturday afternoon. But if there's a strong feeling once we have formed the cohort that people would like to potentially move it to another part of the week, maybe Monday through Wednesday, or you're okay with it being on the weekend, we could definitely discuss that once we actually get the cohort formed. But I don't think you should let that particular schedule stop you from applying. But you do need to think about whether you have the bandwidth to come to 2.5 days of meetings during the months that we specified, and also to do the homework that Fran has talked about, and Dixon, and also to come to our virtual meetings in the months that we're not meeting in person. So it is a pretty big commitment, but it's not quite the same as if you were trying to get an advanced degree or something like that. Hope that helps. There's a new question. From our experience, investors mentioned earlier is a dead end for local queer newsrooms. Investors will not support this type of mission business, full stop. Also, in the philanthropic space, less than 1% of all philanthropic funding supports local queer newsrooms. These are two gigantic obstacles that queer newsrooms face in trying to exist and be sustainable. Also, queer newsrooms face enormous homophobia from spaces that are supposed to help. how would you help a newsroom overcome barriers and put them on the road to sustainability?
I can take a stab at that
Thank you,
if you'd
Fran.
like, Evelyn.
Thank you.
Um, I'm not sure who said investors. Yes, you're right. Absolutely no traditional investor would invest in pretty much any newsroom, to be honest, because the return on investment is not high enough. I've done work in that space, and um, that's just not, they look for growth rates of 30% year over year. Uh, I don't know what newsroom is doing that. I don't care what the audience is. I don't know any newsroom who's doing that. Any investor who does go into a newsroom is just milking it literally for the cash. So I agree with you 100%. I don't know about the entire philanthropic space. One of the things that we talk about is customer segments. And so, yes, if we looked at the entire philanthropic space, yes, but they're customer segments, and customer segments also include funders at local, regional levels that are specific to different causes and demographics and so on. So that's how I would frame something. Remember, we said right size when we talked about right sizing? Yes, if I said, yes, the entire universe of funders only 1%, but there I have successfully worked with at least two organizations that focus on queer communities, and they have been funded just fine. So again, it's if you're using the entire universe, it looks bleak. If you focus and target to specific customer segments and build a value proposition that appeals to them, not so bleak. Okay. So that's again part of how we do the work we do is go from apocalyptic thinking to let's narrow and focus and make sure we understand what these funders are funding and how we can align your work to match their needs. And that's a big part of what we do with value proposition work. Hopefully that answers your question, Philip. That's the first step in the movement towards sustainability.
Mhm.
Also, in addition to funders, philanthropic funders, depending on where you are, the queer community can have a high disposable income, and there are lots of sponsors and potential sponsors. I don't want to say lots. There are potential sponsors who want to reach that audience. So um, there are many ways to sort of think about the universe of support.
Gonna give
And
folks, oh, go
I
ahead, Evelyn.
said Philip has followed up about how bleak the experience it has been, and we don't um, discount the challenges and how I think the toll that it takes on folks as individuals, on your staff. And uh, we hope through this program at least to give you a little bit of respite and support and understanding, as well as brainstorming ways to go forward. But we don't discount that at all. We have all experience of that direct experience, and feel that very, very much. So,
Thank you for that reminder, Evelyn. I think that that's something that people will also find in this cohort is that a lot of these challenges are similar, even when you think I'm the only one facing this challenge or I'm the only organization that has ever dealt with this. And hopefully you'll be able to work together on tests and ways to figure out a different road ahead. I'm going to give us just a minute in case anybody else wants to put anything in the Q&A. But is there anything we want to mention as we're kind of wrapping up? It looks like we've answered all the questions that have been asked while we've been here. And this is not the final opportunity to ask questions, of course. If you have questions that you are thinking of later, feel free to reach out to Evelyn and me. And Fran and Dixon will be a big part of this program, so they'll be there if you are selected to be part of the cohort. And I hope you see how thoughtful they are about the curriculum and their expectation that you be really engaged participants in order to use this program to its fullest benefit for you and your organization.
We hope you all apply. And this is a new program for us. As I mentioned before, we'll have a second cohort, and our hope is to get the funds to keep going. But this is, as we engage in this, it's a learning experience for us in terms of what is most effective, what is most supportive, and we hope you'll be part of it, at least take that first step.
Yeah, thank you so much to everybody who is here today to spend their time with us. Thank you to Evelyn, Fran, and Dixon for answering the questions. And thank you to our colleague Jasmine, who is off screen, but helping to run the back end of things and making sure things go smoothly. We'll post a recording of this. And as a reminder, the applications are due May 1st. And please encourage others to apply. Like, this is not something that should be considered super duper competitive. It's great to have other people in the ecosystem who are working with you to get more markets served, all the different communities that are out there in California. So we would love to see lots of applications.
Yes. Thank you so much, Doris.
Thanks, everyone. I think I'm going to end this.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good weekend, everyone.